Streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody, and happy Friday to you. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk Media Network across the state of South Carolina. Your final word in sports every night in South Carolina, and we're happy to share it with you. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. If you'd like to join us on the program tonight with a comment, a question, an observation, whatever's on your mind. Happy to hear from you tonight. We'll have more from SEC and ACC coaches for you tonight as we make it through the final 2 hours of the week. Jeff Owens on NASCARs. We have the race up in Pocono this weekend. George Bryan III, birdies and bogeys around the state of South Carolina, with us tonight as well. Again, that phone number, 888-898-2525. I'm on location, on the move once again tonight. Speaking of being on the move, Mike Morgan will be with us at 6:35 as he's on the move. Moved him from Thursday to Friday for this week, so we'll get his take on things SEC and ACC football and the Braves as well. And Chris Bergen was on the move today as well. Bergie was on the highways heading up to his homestead up in the Fountain Inn area. Beautiful Fountain Inn, little suburb of the greater Greenville area. So that is where he is located. And Pat Daniel is back at our studios in downtown Columbia. Again, the phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. So today, Chris, the NCAA reminded us that it's still a body. It's a body with, it thinks, some power. And so they announced allegations, the notice of allegations to Tennessee, where I guess Tennessee announced it that they had received their notice of allegations from the NCAA. It's always exciting when the NCAA begins the process of dropping the hammer on a program, especially one as crooked as Tennessee. In this particular case, you've got a situation where their former coach, Jeremy Pruitt, and the staff paid about $60,000 in inducements, funded visits during the COVID dead period. And even Pruitt's wife got involved. He and the wife paid about $12,000 in cash for recruits, arranged fishing trips, nail salon visits. I wonder which recruits went on those visits. They did all kind of stuff, which under today's rules would be fine. But, just going back a few years, these things weren't fine. And I'm sort of I'm sort of like, it's legal now to do all this stuff. Why you want to go back? I mean, there's no grandfather clause here. You can't go back and look at things a few years ago under the same rules and laws we have today. But, what's the big deal now that they were cheating then and what they were doing then is legal now? What's the big deal?
18 level 1 violations. And, when Bruce Pearl cheats and when Will Wade cheats, they win. Jeremy Pruitt cheated and didn't win. And so he was fired for that. And certainly once the school started going through the investigation about what was going on, the nail salon visits I thought was rather interesting. My assumption is that's going to be for a player, recruits, whatever the case may be, his or her, his girlfriend. But yeah, the rest of it, I mean, just really weird. And I love how all of this stuff comes out at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. The perfect Friday news dump is the time when you get your NCAA letter of allegations. And yeah, you're right. I don't know that you can retroactively look back and say, you know what, while Pruitt was there, they cheated. These were against the rules, even though they aren't now. They were certainly against the rules a couple of years ago. But he's gone. The entire staff is gone. This is where I've always had a problem with the NCAA and its enforcement policy. It's always 2, 3, 4 years too late. You never catch the cheaters. It's not like the police showing up when you're robbing a bank and the burglars can't get out of the bank beforehand. Here, I mean, they ran through the bank, came back, went home, and continued to work. And I think that's part of the problem. The NCAA just really has no way to punish these type teams. And I think, And I saw a lot of articles that were written about Tennessee today saying, you know what, they complied. They were upfront about all of this, and with the staff being gone, I don't think in this modern time that we have still, I'm not sure the NCAA is going to do much about this. I think they'll probably accept whatever punishments Tennessee has handed down as self-imposed and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, they cut some scholarships and they cut some official visits and things like that, and that's like really going to hurt you. I think what you should do, of course, is if you're interested in punishing people for breaking the rules when they were rules, okay, first of all, you find the head coach, you go back and you take major money out of his pocket that you had paid him, you hit him, you know, you have it set up. The system should be set up where the coach and the coaching staff pays a penalty financially. Then you put a show cause on them, which I'm sure they will put a show cause on them if you can still do that. I mean, I don't know what you can do anymore if you can still do that. And then the players involved, several of those players, you know, who received inducements, and you know, they're on the team. You know, they were recruited illegally and they're ineligible. They played games as an ineligible player. Should Tennessee have to forfeit games in which those players played? I mean, now you're talking about punishing the innocent, but you know, the thing has always been it's about a team. It's about the group is greater than the individual, and if you're punishing one, you punish the whole team. That's kind of always been the concept. Here's the thing that got me. This is what got me about the whole thing. Now, this might be a little minor twist to it, but it kind of stood out to me. So part of the allegations were that they had 9 unofficial visits during the COVID dead period. Remember, we had that extended dead period because of COVID, and you couldn't have any recruits on campus. Well, somehow, some way, Tennessee managed to bring 9 players and family members onto campus for unofficial visits. And what I don't understand, with all the super sleuths and the recruiting gurus on the multitude of Tennessee fanboy websites that watch everything. I mean, if a recruit's on campus and he goes and takes a TT, it's tweeted about, okay? They know everything that's going on because they're constantly promoting and constantly in contact with the coaching staff. How did they not know this? Or did they know it and just not report it because they were protecting their coaching staff? In other words, were they colluding with the coaching staff at Tennessee? They had to know. There's no way Tennessee was bringing recruits on campus and these people not know about it. Yet they didn't report it. Collusion of the worst kind when it comes to websites, media, covering a team. I mean, that's my opinion. Can I prove it? No. Is anybody going to step up and admit it? No. But that's what it looks like to me from this distance. What do you think?
Well, and if they weren't colluding with Tennessee to keep this stuff secret, they're not very good at their job, right? I mean, their job for these recruiting services is to know.
They're very good at their job. They're very good at knowing everything that's going on within recruiting, because they work hand in glove with members of the recruiting staff until they don't want to give you the information, or they give you information and they tell you can't use it. They had to know.
That'd be my
and they sat on it, of course, working with the staff. So, I mean, what do you think about that? I guess from a fan standpoint, they're like, what's the big deal, Cornblue? Get over it. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But I'm like, you want to be media big boys, then, you separate yourself from the people that you cover and you do your job and you report what you know if it's factual. But when you're working hand in hand with the people that you cover, well, then you have problems. That's what leads to, as we know, in all walks of life, be it sports or politics or, banking industry, the legal business, people, the media should be free to cover and report and put the news out if they know something. And I think they colluded with them as far as I can tell, because I find it most unusual that they would not know that 9 players had come in for unofficial visits during that time and not report it.
Well, anyway, the cover-up is always worse, right? Yeah, I mean, the cover-up is always worse than the actual crime for the most part. And I would use this as sort of a parallel, not nearly as egregious, obviously, with what went on at Penn State. You can't tell me there weren't media members that had heard that story at least once or twice before it finally broke on Joe Paterno. I mean, there's no way you're able to not have all that go on as long as it did and no one in the media knew about it. I think we see this all the time, Phil. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yet we treat these people like they're real media types, and that they have no agenda in covering their teams, which of course they do have an agenda. All right, so that's the story coming down from Tennessee, and we'll see where that goes here moving forward. Again, if we didn't have the current state of affairs in college sports that we would do, then I would be like, whoa, this is awful. This is terrible. But seriously, Chris, they didn't do anything then that's not really legal now, right? I mean, they put money in the hands of recruits and their families. Well, they're doing that everywhere now. They took them out to dinners and they put them up in hotels, and they took them to get their hair done, their nails done. All that's legal now under the new rules. So it makes it a little harder to come. I mean, in my mindset, it makes it a little more difficult to come down on them, even though they were breaking the rules at that time.
You're right. Well, and back 20 years ago, the speed limit on every interstate around the country was 55. If you got caught going 65, well, now, hey, the speed limit's 70. Should I get my money back in the time I spent trying to clear my name with the ticket you gave me? Of course not. It was illegal back when you did it. Same thing here with Tennessee. But the problem is going to be the sort of optics on this. If the NCAA comes down and tries to hammer Tennessee on something that everybody understands now is within the bounds of the rules, and still we have a situation, and there are other schools, this would be selective enforcement, in my opinion, on Tennessee. Not trying to defend them. They obviously violated several rules, but when you see a program like the University of North Carolina that doesn't even worry about academics, which is still something that should be enforced at the collegiate level, and then you're going to hit Tennessee on something that now is firmly within the bounds. I just don't think the NCAA can win here. They're probably going to accept the internal punishment that Tennessee gave itself, and also take into account Jeremy Pruitt and his staff are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tennessee did fire him, and they have been transparent. They have worked with the NCAA. That's all positive for them and moving forward. The one analogy that I can come up with, and you had one there about speeding, but I'm thinking about the folks who were thrown into prison for smoking marijuana, say, 10, 15 years ago?
That may actually be better.
And now, the law's changed, and many of them have gotten out of prison because we've gotten much more lenient. The laws have changed, and they've been forgiven for doing something that was illegal back then, but now is legal in many parts of the country now. So that's the one analogy I can come up with. Not that I have any experience with dealing with marijuana or prison time or anything like that. I'm just saying from what I've read, seems like a good analogy. All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. We'll hit our break and come back with more, catch you up on some more news notes of the day. If you'd like to,
and I have a bone to pick with you too.
Oh, I know you do. We're going to get to that bone. We're getting.
Oh,
to
not
the
even
bone.
that.
You have a second bone.
Yeah, I've got a second bone.
Okay,
we'll
get to your.
This one's actually
two different bones to pick with me. Okay, and I've got some interesting figures that I uncovered last night from a financial type website regarding revenue for sports at USC and Clemson. Back in a moment.
I learned that people are just looking for somebody to listen to them. You can't just start cutting somebody's hair and you're going to be quiet the whole time because you're not going to be in business long.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has provided over $800 million to help students attend technical colleges across our state, investing in a new generation of entrepreneurs just like James. Your passion is our purpose.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Hey, folks, it's Mike Morgan for Gibson Insurance. Former Gamecock player Bo Mobley and former coach Stuart Lake want you on their team for all your insurance needs. Now, cost-effective solutions is what they're all about for the now and for the long term. They're licensed with every insurance company in the state. They've got offices in Columbia, Greenville, and Sumter. But if you're listening right now, let me direct you to call Bo and Stu today at 803-605-0029. That's 803-605-0029. Let my good friends take great care of you.
Mike Morgan coming up in just a few minutes here on Sports Talk. Plus, we'll hear from more coaches from the SEC and ACC Media Days that we attended this week. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number since 2002. More than $829 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund lottery tuition assistance for students attending technical colleges in South Carolina. Be sure to learn more about the lottery's impact at scheducationlottery.com/educationwins. And playing for fun is a win for education. I was just listening to our watermelon spot there, guys, and I have to say that spot is dead on, because you eat a slice or two of watermelon, and it does feel like you've taken down some real cold water on a hot day. So I advise everyone on a day like today, where it's mid-90s and the humidity was up around 85-90%, go eat some South Carolina watermelon, and that'll chill you out. I find that to be a great way to quench the thirst. All right, bone number one.
Well, first off, I had a South Carolina watermelon this afternoon myself, so I can echo those comments, Mr. Corn.
Yes.
No, the thing that bothers me, and if anybody watches, and we certainly encourage you to check out our YouTube page so you can see Phil and Pat and myself all smiling on the show. Phil actually loves to wear baseball caps on the program.
Just
Yankees
on
got
Fridays.
swept in Yankees got swept yesterday in a doubleheader by the Houston Astros. So evidently you have changed allegiances. You're now a Cardinals fan.
Oh, hell no. No.
Come on.
I just like the cap. I bought this cap last year when I covered the Gamecocks in Missouri, and it was I flew in on a Friday. It was a cold, blustery day in St. Louis, and I drove downtown and I went right to Busch Stadium. I've never been to Busch Stadium, the new one, and I walked around. I went into the fan store and I bought me a cap. Yeah, but no. I'm diehard Yankee, man. Diehard Yankee. Yeah, the Yankees, they got a Houston problem. I am concerned. I mean, they have a Houston problem. Houston has won the regular season series. The Yankees trailed in every game against them. Their 2 wins, they had to come from behind. There's a Houston problem going on with the Yankees right now. What's your other bone?
Before we get to that, though, my other bone is about the neutral site games that we were talking about yesterday. But Pat and I were chatting during the break, and I think Pat's got something that may have let some of the Tennessee media off the hook back in 2020, rather, and that I hadn't even considered.
All right.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, and I could be wrong, but I feel like, Phil, you may know the answer to this. Back in 2020, remember, everybody was hit hard with COVID. People were doing things remotely, including everybody in the media, all of us. Do you think that there may not have been as much access for those people in Knoxville, so maybe they would not have been as aware of certain violations? And where I think you may know the answer to this is, did we have as much access? Did you have as much access with as big as you are in recruiting around the state back in 2020?
Well, to answer the second part first, I don't talk to coaches. I don't talk to college coaches anymore. I haven't talked to college coaches in 15 years. Maybe even longer. So that doesn't impact me. That's why I don't talk to college coaches. I'm not influenced. I'm not directed. I'm not led by the nose. So I don't have to do that. They still had their phones working. And they still had Zoom. They still, they still had text messaging. Hey, so-and-so's visiting this weekend. Keep it quiet. Can't put it out, whatever the case may be. I don't know that this is fact. I just found it odd. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. And maybe I'm way wrong. I just found it odd that Tennessee would pull off 9 unofficial visits, and their recruiting media, which is what they thrive on those websites for the most part, reported none of it. I just find that hard to believe.
And you
this
might be
day
right.
and age of awareness of what's happening in recruiting by these recruiting websites.
Right. And what you were just saying, though, was kind of the point I was getting to was was if you are not physically there and you would then be depending on these coaching staffs to text you and let you know XYZ player is visiting this weekend. Well, if they're knowingly breaking rules, why would they be letting these people know that somebody's visiting? Like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that the Tennessee fanboy type websites you talk about, wouldn't they be finding that information on their own, or are they just always getting that information leaked to them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming. There's all kind of ways to get your information. I think that based on my history from years ago, and just sort of thinking about how it would be done today, I think a lot of it, you depend a lot on inside help. How would you know some of these guys that aren't all that well known, who all of a sudden show up for an unofficial visit and it's reported, or an official visit and it's reported? So I think there is inside help for all these websites. That's my assumption. And when I read that story that 9 unofficial visits took place and there was no reporting of it, to me, it just smacks of collusion there. But, Pat, you could be exactly right. They might have conspired within the coaching staff and said, hey, we're going to have these guys in, but you can't let anybody know about it. That's still, I find that hard to believe, because high school coaches talk, recruits talk, family members talk. And you couldn't dare, if you're covering Tennessee and it's the dead period and you're covering recruiting, you couldn't dare report that a recruit was in for a visit, an unofficial visit with the coaching staff, because that was banned by the NCAA. That would be an obvious violation. You would be calling out the school you're covering directly by reporting it. So, I mean, that was just me thinking when I read that story.
Sure, yeah, and totally agree. And again, I'm in no way defending what Tennessee's done. These are clear violations by the rules at that time. And then also agree with you that now, do you look at this through a retroactive lens, or do you have to go by what the rules were at that time, which is what we seemingly agree you have to do? But just a different perspective, just a thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the NCAA is going by the rules of the time. They're not applying today's rules to what happened 4 or 5 years ago, So they feel like they've got a case, and they plan on punishing Tennessee or either accepting the penalties that Tennessee has already imposed on themselves. To Andy in Columbia, squeeze in a call here before we get to Mike Morgan to begin the next half hour. Andy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Corn, Chris, Pat, I'm doing great. I hope y'all are doing well.
Terrific.
A couple of questions. UT had 18 level ones. How many did SMU have in the day?
Well, keep in mind now, that was things were different. Things were counted differently back then.
No BS from Corn. Just answer a question.
No, I don't remember the number of violations, but I mean, they counted things differently back in the old days. I mean, they've lumped things together now into these level violations. But back in the old days, when Clemson got hit, SMU got hit, they counted everything you did. Every single thing was a violation. So you might have picked up a guy and driven him 5 miles and bought him a Coke. Those are 2 different violations, and they added up to be. That's why Clemson had like 100 and something violations against them. But now they kind of lump them all together,
right?
More recently.
But you said, what's going on now with UT then is legal now. I don't think you can go through a McDonald's and get a bag of cash now legally through the name, image, and likeness thing. I still think that's
I think if the McDonald's owner is a contributor to the collective, and you're making an appearance at his McDonald's.
No, but I guess a drive-through appearance is an appearance.
I guess you define it. The Supreme Court has basically said, whatever you can do to get your money, go and get it.
And it's kind of ironic. You just talked about the North Carolina academics, scandal. Does it kind of catch anybody? The Big Ten is supposed to be big academics. Scholastics wants to bring in a North Carolina who cheated like they did, or is that just
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm with Chris. I mean, that's to this day, I don't understand how North Carolina skated free.
Yeah, even
penalties.
Skating though. Why would the Big Ten want to associate themselves with that? And one last thing for you, Mr. Corn, if you can answer this sometime. Not counting your own questions, what was the stupidest question you heard at the SEC this past week And I know what your thing is. There's never a stupid question, but there are stupid questions. So please let us know the stupid
I didn't ask a single question. I didn't ask a single question in the main room. I saved mine for my private interviews. Back in a moment after this break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Steve Bannon, 68, was convicted after a 4-day trial in federal court on 2 counts, one for refusing to appear for a deposition and the other for refusing to provide documents in response to the January 6th committee's subpoena. The jury of 8 men and 4 women deliberated just under 3 hours. He faces up to 2 years in federal prison when he's sentenced on October 21st. Each count carries a minimum sentence of 30 days in jail. Most abortions will become illegal in Wyoming on Wednesday after Governor Mark Gordon gave the go-ahead Friday under a new state law. The law bans abortions except in cases of rape or incest or to protect the mother's life or health. The Wyoming legislature approved the ban and Gordon signed it into law in March. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on shooterschoicesc.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, shooterschoicesc.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Well, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted Best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do it big. Yeah, screaming that's.
We are back on Sports Talk on a Friday night. Time for another edition of Morgan on the Move, starring Mike Morgan, who has moved from Thursday to Friday for this week. Brought to you by Gibson Insurance, where former USC players Bo Mobley, Andrew Eister, and former coach Stuart Lake, they want you on their team for all your insurance needs, including, yes, indeed, earthquake insurance. Cost-effective solutions for now and long-term. That's what they offer. They're all licensed with every insurance company in South Carolina. So give them a call, Bo, Andrew, and Stuart. Give them a call, 803-605-0029, 803-605-0029. Mike, welcome in. Good to have you with us once again. Sorry, couldn't make it over to your estate while I was in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. But next time I'll, when you invite me, I'll get over there.
Well, we've got a pool and a pond. A pond would be good for you. Natural spring.
That's good. That's good for the skin. That works well for the skin.
That's a Caddyshack line for those that have only seen one of the most popular comedies of all time. But Chevy Chase, anybody? Noonan, Bueller.
I've seen it.
Spot on, Mike.
I've seen it.
Somebody got that one. All right. It's good to hear from you. How was your trip to Atlanta?
It was terrific. Had a great time. Nothing like sitting in the Georgia Dome.
Place?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Except for the weather, man. We had some unbelievable storms, as you know. All right, so today the meaty poll was announced, and in the East, it's Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt. In the West, it's Alabama, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, Auburn. Alabama, the overwhelming favorite to win the championship, 158 votes to Georgia's 18. South Carolina got 3 votes to win the championship. Vanderbilt got a vote to win the championship. So there you go. The media's, well, I guess I don't want to say seldom right, because if you pick Alabama pretty much every year, you're going to be right more often than not. But what did you think? Anything really jump out at you regarding the two divisions?
No, not at all. Everybody knew it'd be Alabama and Georgia. I think if you're looking for intrigue this year in the SEC, it's 2 through 13. The person who gave Vanderbilt a first place vote has a tremendous sense of humor, and I appreciate that. I like humor as much as anybody, but I should say 3 through 13 is going to be intriguing. I think if you break it down in divisions, because based on what Greg Sankey said, we might not be looking at divisions much longer. That the Eastern Division is from 2nd through 6th is as wide open as maybe it's ever been. Kentucky was the safe pick. I would actually take my chances on that one. I love what Coach Stoops has done, and I'm a big Will Levis fan, as I've said many times. But having put them under a microscope, calling their spring game a few months ago, I know where the weaknesses are there. And they really did lose a lot that people are not talking about. I mean, they lost 3 guys on the offensive line to the NFL. They lost by far and away their number 1 target at wide receiver. They lost their best defensive player. Like, they lost some guys, and I just don't think that they're as safe a pick as a lot of people did. I would be more tempted to take either Tennessee, Florida, or Carolina in that 2-hole, and then Kentucky somewhere around 3rd. But that's just me. I mean, there's nothing controversial about that. And then on the Western side, again, it's Alabama and everybody else. And, to see Auburn picked last is really bizarre. And it goes to show you why a lot of people think Brian Harson's going to have a tough year of it on the Plains. But we'll see. Honestly, Phil, for me, the most intriguing thing, more so than the 14 coaches and the 42 players that went to the podium, was Greg Sankey's remarks, because I mean, I think most of us view him as almost like the de facto commissioner of college football. And when he talks, the needle moves, and he took some subtle jabs at the Big Ten. He reminded those conferences that turned down the 12-team playoff that they basically cut their nose off to spite their face, and now they might not have that opportunity again with 6 automatic bids, which is what the 12-team format had. I mean, he was firing, guns a-blazing, and if you know, it's very subtle. He talks very lawyer-like, but if you caught some of the things, the messages he was giving, I thought they were pretty powerful.
Yeah, I referred to him as Julius Caesar because of the way that he has just sort of taken over leadership of the college football scene, and his will is, you know, his will is being imposed, and his will is he's getting his way in a lot of ways. So we'll see what else happens in the future. The other interesting thing about this preseason ranking, and we'll see what happens in terms of the legal situation for these two players, but the running back at Kentucky, Chris Rodriguez, and the running back at the wide receiver, Anaya Smith at Texas A&M. I mean, they're both dealing with some situations that, I don't know, is it going to keep them out for the first part of the season, if not the entire season?
Well, in the case of Anaya Smith, it certainly sounds like there's going to be a suspension in the works. The Rodriguez story goes back and forth for Kentucky, so I don't know there. But, I mean, those are two absolutely key players. You called Smith a wide receiver and a running back, and you're right. He's kind of both. He's played both positions while he's been there. He's kind of that wild card guy that can do so many things for you. They already had a wide receiver kicked off the team. So, those will certainly be two things to look for. I think Rodriguez at Kentucky, they can't afford to lose him. I mean, that is their bell cow on the ground, and even though he fumbles too much, you know, they're more of a ground and pound team than some of the other teams we're used to in this league.
Mike Morgan on the move, joining us here tonight on Sports Talk, looking back at SEC Media Days and a horrible day here yesterday in the state of South Carolina. Mike, you were around the Gamecocks, covering the Gamecocks when Phil Petty was a quarterback for the USC football team. Just your thoughts, reflections on his passing yesterday.
Yeah, you know, obviously I was stunned and sad for the loss for his family, and many of the people that I knew back in Columbia were friends with Phil Petty. I wouldn't call him a friend. I didn't know him that well, but I covered him. My first year with the Gamecock Network was 2000. I did the pre and post game shows. I traveled to those Outback Bowls. I covered many of those wins that really the two far and away highlight years under the Lou Holtz regime. And I think if you write a book on Gamecock football history, you've got to give Phil Petty a chapter he's got to be in a chapter, because really you look at where the program was, and coming off a winless season in 99 and one win in 98. And Phil Petty was not exactly the most hyped quarterback, Phil, as you know, coming out. But he did all the things you needed him to do. He was remarkably efficient, and even though he didn't have eye-popping numbers in an offense that didn't necessarily permit that, he was incredibly efficient. He was incredibly clutch. I mean, you think about some of the big plays, the throw to Brian Scott in 01 between the hedges to beat Georgia back-to-back years, some big plays against Tennessee, obviously the Outback Bowls. Phil Petty had a really good run at quarterback and helped give Carolina some credibility, which eventually helped land Steve Spurrier, which eventually helped land the most successful stretch in the history of the program. So I think Phil Petty sometimes gets a little lost in the shuffle when you're talking about meaningful players in the history of the program. So give him his due as a player, and you can't find many people who say a bad word about him as a person either. So that goes without saying.
Yeah, just tough as nails, one of the toughest quarterbacks. I mean, there have been a lot of tough quarterbacks, Connor Shaw and even Garcia and others, but I mean, he was truly one of the toughest quarterbacks that South Carolina's ever had. Took a beating there in the bad year of 99 and limped his way through it, and same thing in 2000, and but left with some impressive numbers, and of course those 17 wins over 2 years. That's some of the best quarterbacking that the Gamecocks have had. Before we let you run, because I know you got to get out of here, but the news came out today about the notice of allegations at Tennessee. Anything surprise you? Anything really open your eyes about what you read about that case?
Well, I mean, the number of primary violations. I mean, we all heard about McDonald's bags and a number of other things, but the pure the pure don't be sidetracked by the MC behind me. The pure number of allegations or violations rather is staggering, and I think what's going to be interesting going forward is that everything you hear about where the NCAA is now, which is losing its teeth left and right, is that they don't want to punish future players that had nothing to do with the violations, coaches that had nothing to do with violations. They don't want to punish them the way they used to. Well, if that's the case, okay, I get it. You're going to give a show cause to Jeremy Pruitt. He's never going to coach again in Division I. But what else do you do? I mean, you can't fire him twice. Yeah. So I don't know how you really lower the boom. If this was 5 years ago, Tennessee fans would have to be just petrified of what the future looks like with probation. I don't know if that's going to be the case the way it is now, not to mention the climate where players are getting paid all the time anyway. They got a quarterback who's about to make 7 figures going there, and it's legal, and everybody knows about it.
Yeah, it's a conflicting situation to be in when you've got what's happening now, the current system and the current rules versus what the Vols are being hit for that happened just a few years ago. But the rules were the rules back then, and there's no grandfather clause. Nothing that's being done now is being retroactively applied to what happened a few years ago. So yeah. I guess the NCAA feels like what little power it has left, it wants to wield to the very end here until it has no power whatsoever. Mike, as always, we appreciate it. It sounds like you're about to be introduced to speak in front of a large crowd of 45 or 50,000. Are you putting on a concert tonight somewhere?
Yes, I'm unplugged. It's Dave Matthews and I going around the world. We're in Amsterdam tonight, and we'll be in Rock Hill, South Carolina tomorrow. So it's a very interesting itinerary.
All right, safe travels, and we'll be looking for the album. I still go with albums. We'll be looking for the album.
It's Morgan and Matthews Unplugged. It's available on Amazon Prime.
You got it.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday, buddy.
See you guys. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
That's right. It was his birthday. Did you turn 50? Was this number 50?
He's gone.
He's gone.
We'll never know.
Hit 50 yet. It's hard to tell because he uses Grecian formula. And, when you use Grecian formula, it's really hard to tell if you're aging or not, I'm just saying. You don't think he uses Grecian formula?
I think it's just really, really good genes and not Jeans. Yeah, I think Mike's just blessed.
I guess he is. All right, here's something I wanted to mention, and thanks to Mike Morgan on the Move for being with us tonight. So I was doing some searching around last night, and I ran across this website I had not heard about before, and the name of it is Sportico. And if you go there to Sportico, it's a website that focuses on revenue and spending by FBS levels programs all across the country, and they get the information from each program that's a public school, not the private schools, of course, but from the public schools, and they put together a database, and you can compare one school to the next. And I found a couple of things here to be quite enlightening and something that I couldn't figure out. But let's see if we can figure it out. So for the revenue figures, the last year that they did this was 2021 academic year. Obviously, the 21-22 is not in yet. So 2021 academic year. And this is the revenue figures for that academic year. USC football, $36,143,729. Clemson football, $42,639,356. All right, so Clemson football, a little over $6 million more. USC men's basketball, $7,470,867. Clemson men's basketball revenue, $7,603,201. So pretty much a wash. Here's a surprising one. Women's basketball. Women's basketball revenue. USC women, $692,985. Clemson women, $1,112,845. How is that possible? How is that possible?
That's a great question. And I'm curious, when you say revenue figures, and I was thinking about this earlier today, Phil, and I actually tried to go to Sportico, and I couldn't understand the way their website is set up to delve into this further. But is that just based on ticket sales, concessions, parking, and then certainly the TV contracts? I mean, everything that brings money into the program would be revenue, right? And then everything that goes out would be on the debit side, and then you put the two together to see if you're in the black or in the red. And I just find it really, really hard to believe that South Carolina women's basketball is bringing in less revenue by double what Clemson's bringing in for their team. That one just – I totally understand Clemson football making more money on the revenue side than USC football. And I think the basketball men's teams, both a wash, as you pointed out, is understandable. But the last one, the women's basketball, just makes zero sense.
Well, here is their explanation for their database. Sportico is maintaining an interactive real-time database that tracks the official balance sheets of public football, bowl, subdivision, university athletic departments. You can see how revenue and expense categories stack up among FBS programs, and you can compare one school to the next. So they maintain an interactive real-time database that tracks the official balance sheets of the schools in the FBS and their university athletic departments. So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from the schools themselves. I mean, they have to report this. This is all public information. So
right.
They have access to it. This is coming from the schools themselves. Let's go over here to the other category that I highlighted, and that category was the profit deficit figures for 2020-21 from Sportico. Profit or deficit. In other words, are you in the red or are you in the black? Now, this was 2021. So remember, this is COVID. Things were different then. This was the COVID year. And I use this because it was the last reporting year. So the COVID year, 2021, Clemson football reported a loss of $3,234,721. USC football, a loss of $6,394,270. Clemson men's hoops, a profit of $1,064,112. USC men's hoops, a profit of $1,113,535. Women's hoops, Clemson women's hoops lost $2,508,554. USC women's hoops lost $5,119,211. Now, you got to keep in mind coaches' salaries here too, right?
Okay.
I mean, they pay Dawn Staley a ton more than what Amanda Butler makes, and
no doubt,
I'm sure her coaching staff makes more than what the Clemson coaching staff makes. So that's probably factored into it, I would think.
But also, Clemson football pays a whole lot more money to its football coaches' salaries, especially Dabo's, and South Carolina paid Will Muschamp, unless they're factoring in Muschamp's buyout as well.
I mean, again,
as a negative.
It's all coming off the balance sheet of the respective schools. So that's what it shows. I mean, that's coming from the schools that this website is putting out there. So, all right. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Really
let's hit the break. You can find it yourself. You can find it yourself and look at it yourself. Sportico.com, SPORTICO.com. And this information is all free and easy to access. Sportico, SPORTICO.com. Let's hit the break, and we'll come back with more, maybe squeeze in the recruiting here before the top of the hour. Hour number 2, we got Jeff Owens in the fast lane as we go racing at Pocono, and then we kind of slow things down, chill out, take it easy, and let George Bryan talk about birdies and bogeys around the state of South Carolina. That'll be coming up in our final half hour tonight here on Sports Talk, and we'll be back after the break.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty, certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
In Irmo, call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171.
Peanuts and baseball, the perfect pair. There's nothing better than enjoying a bag of crunchy, great-tasting in-shell peanuts washed down with your favorite beverage of choice while cheering on your baseball team. This summer, grab a bag or two of delicious protein-packed Virginia Carolina's grown in-shell peanuts. America's favorite snack and America's favorite sport. A match sure to please. This message is brought to you by Virginia Carolina's peanut farmers. To learn more about peanuts, visit the website aboutpeanuts.com. That's right, aboutpeanuts.com. Enjoy a bag of peanuts today.
Time to do recruiting here on Sports Talk, brought to you by our good friends at Seawells. Hope you got over there today for the Roast Beef Friday presentation, which I'm sure was absolutely fantastic. I'd have been there today, but I was out of town. I'll catch it next week. Don't forget, all next week, it is the daily luncheon buffet from 11 till 2. It's only $13, and it is absolutely stupendously good. And for the very best in the catering business, SeawellsCateringSC.com, and their phone number, 803-771-7385. So, safety Rob Billings of Alpharetta, Georgia, is going to be at Clemson Monday. Clemson's got a recruits cookout on Monday. Things go live again on Monday for a week.
Oh, no.
He was there in March, and he took an official visit in June, going back on Monday. Very strong on Clemson. They're very strong on him. Been talking a lot to Mickey Kahn. Relationship is very good. Loves how they treat him and his family. They've been on him very strong since they gave him a scholarship. They tell him a lot about how he'd be used in the defense, and he could play some corner, he could play some safety for him. So very strong with Clemson going into this visit on Monday. He's also hearing from Florida State, and Duke does not have any other visits planned after Monday. His parents and siblings will be going with him. Safety Vakari Swain of Carrollton, Georgia, going to be cutting his list by the middle of next week to about 3 or 4 finalists. Right now he's got USC, Vandy, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Duke, and Maryland. No date for a commitment announcement, but sometime in August looks possible. He continues to hear regularly from Gamecock assistants Torian Gray and Marcus Satterfield. He said USC, Vandy, and Mississippi State are the strongest 3 with him, with Vandy making a particularly strong push. He's going to take an unofficial of Mississippi State next Friday. He's taking officials to USC, Vandy, and Maryland. USC 2024 commitment Dante Reno back home from Aruba last night. And as far as reclassifying for 23, that's something he still has to talk about with the USC staff and his family. He did talk with Marcus Satterfield on Thursday. He's keeping an open mind about it, he says, no personal feelings, and is now starting to focus on his upcoming season with his team. Defensive end Tyree Weathersby of Douglasville, Georgia, who committed to Tennessee July 1st, communicates weekly with USC defensive line coach Jimmy Lindsey. His only official visit thus far was to Tennessee in June. He said he's talking with Lindsey about a visit in September. He said Georgia and Mississippi State are also communicating, especially Georgia is coming at him real strong now. USC target wide receiver Carmelo Taylor, Roanoke, Virginia, is delaying his commitment announcement. He was scheduled to reveal his choice on the 25th. He announced on Twitter he needs more time to make his decision. He took official visits to USC, Virginia Tech, and Penn State in June. He also has West Virginia and Maryland on his short list. He's also a track standout. USC target receiver Dadrian Zipperer of Lakeland, Florida, has set September 24th for his announcement. And Seneca left-hander Jacob McGovern, 6'2", 190, committed last night to Clemson, 3A Player of the Year. Listen to these numbers: 10-0, 0.096 ERA, 151 strikeouts, allowed 16 hits, and 14 walks for the entire season. That's recruiting. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Steve Bannon, a longtime ally of former President Donald Trump, has been convicted of contempt charges for defying a congressional subpoena from the House committee investigating the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. The verdict was handed down on Friday after a trial in federal court in Washington. He was charged in a 2-count indictment. One count was for refusing to appear for a deposition, and the other was for refusing to provide documents in response to the committee's subpoena. The 68-year-old Bannon faces up to 2 years in federal prison when he's sentenced. Each count carries a minimum sentence of 30 days in jail. David Shern, one of Bannon's lawyers, said outside the courthouse the verdict would not stand. Quote, "This is round one. You will see this case reversed on appeal," Shern said, unquote. The lead Republican on the House committee investigating the Capitol riot, Wyoming's Liz Cheney, is bracing for a primary loss back home.
Cheney has spent most of her time about 1,600 miles from home.
I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
Cheney's focus on Donald Trump is not going over well in Wyoming.
Tell you what, I voted for Cheney when she ran last time, and I won't vote for her ever again.
James King is a political science professor at the University of Wyoming.
One challenger emerged as the principal challenger, and that is attorney Harriet Hageman.
Virginia Torres, for one, is voting for Hageman.
She isn't one that is taking things personally in a less mature way.
There is growing belief by Cheney's team she may be in a stronger position for the 2024 race for president. I'm Ed Donahue.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 137 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The fight for the unborn is raging in our country. The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, clearing the way for many states to ban or severely limit abortion. The debates have never been stronger. During this critical time, the award-winning film, The Matter of Life, cuts through the rhetoric and hatred and exposes the real issues surrounding the plight of the unborn. The Matter of Life. Stream it today at salemnow.com and have your own life transformed as you watch The Matter of Life.
In other news, Ukrainian emergency workers have recovered 3 bodies from a school hit by a Russian strike in Kramatorsk. That's in the east of the country, as attacks continue in several parts of the nation. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The Ukrainian president's office says in Kramatorsk in Donetsk province, Russian shelling has destroyed a school and damaged around 85 residential buildings. In footage released by the Ukrainian Emergency Service, rescuers cleared debris at the school. The reported casualties follow a barrage on Thursday on a densely populated area of Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, that killed at least 3 people with over 20 injuries. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. The rain should clear out tonight. It'll stay muggy all weekend with a low tonight of 72. Tomorrow, mix of sunshine and clouds, and a hotter 93 is our high. Sunday is similar with more sun than clouds. Not much chance of rain and a hot 94 with a lot of humidity. Have a great weekend and stay safe. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point Local Weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Good to have you here on a Friday night across the state. I think we got some weather moving in from one area or another. It seems like everywhere I've been, thunderstorms have just followed me. The storms we had in Atlanta were just vicious. I mean, heavy rain coming and going. It would pour for about 10 minutes, then it would stop. It would start pouring again. Lightning, thunder. Got rain following me here along the coast. Everywhere I go, been followed by rain.
And funny, Phil, it is currently raining in Atlanta again because the Braves are set to take on Shohei Ohtani and the Angels tonight. And tarps out on the field at Truist Field, and I would imagine they're going to have a sellout for that game.
Oh, I would think so. One more recruiting note that I did not get to before the break. 2024 receiver Tyseer Denmark, 5'11", 180 of Philadelphia, named the top 10, and USC is in that top 10 with Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Michigan, Southern Cal, Penn State, Rutgers, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. That's the kind of talent you got to get. That's the kind of recruiting battle you got to win to elevate the overall talent level of your program. The Gamecocks are in the hunt, in the top 10. Speaking of football, I want to give you a little more from the SEC and ACC coaches we heard from this week. Let's go to the first SEC opponent the Gamecocks will face. That will be Arkansas. And Arkansas, they look pretty good in the West. Texas A&M or Arkansas, either one would be second, I think, behind Auburn. I happen to vote Arkansas second behind Alabama in the West with their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, returning. He's a weapon with his arm and his legs, and good receiving crew to throw to, really good running backs. And Sam Pittman has really turned that place around in 2 years. Had a tough first year, and then got it going in a positive direction last season. Sam Pittman, the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he told the media in Atlanta this week that he's very proud of what his team accomplished last season.
Most wins by the program since 2011, finished ranked in the top 20 in the coaches poll, won 4 trophies. That was a big deal to our football team, big deal, to have all 3 of our rivalry trophies and certainly the Outback Bowl trophy. No one on our team had ever had one of those trophies, and we were fortunate to have all 3 of them. We led the Power 5 in rushing. I think what that does, that tells us what we're trying to do with our program. We want to be a physical team. We on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We want to win the line of scrimmage, and we want to be physical and tough. And to do that is hard to do. I was an O-line coach for a long, long time and never was able to lead the Power 5 in rushing, but we were able to do that last year. April 22nd, we handed out bowl rings. Some people ask, well, why you hand out a bowl ring for Outback Bowl? Because I wanted to. And because it's something that nobody on our team had accomplished. And, you can set goals. And once you reach one, that ain't the goal. That's one of them. And once you reach that goal, we're going to celebrate it. And then we're going to move on. That was the last time our team talked about last year. Proud of our coaching staff. We have 2 new coaches in Deke Adams, who's our D-line coach, and Dominique Bowman, who came over from Marshall. Both of those guys are recruiters, and both of them are loyal, and both of them are great men. And our team has received them well. They were both in for spring ball, and both of them are recruiting at a high level. We kept our three coordinators in Kendall Bryles, Scott Fountain, and Barry Odom. They're all loyal. They're great coaches. They're all better men. We are one of 8 Power 5 teams to have a pair of coordinators returning for the 3rd consecutive season. Portal's been in for a long time, and coaches. Administration stepped up and helped us keep Cody Kennedy when others came calling. Jamil Walker, our strength coach, has done an outstanding job with our kids. They work. You know, the purest form of team, go in there and watch your team work out in the weight room. There's no offensive line versus defensive line. There's no linebackers versus running backs. There's none of that stuff. It's a team. It's pure. It's fun to watch. I enjoyed watching that this summer. Jamil Walker and his staff do a great job.
All right, there you go with Sam Pittman from Arkansas, 9-4 last year, 4-4 SEC, averaged about 31 points per game. And you're looking at KJ Jefferson returning at quarterback. And like I said, he's a very effective quarterback, 2,700 passing yards, 664 rushing yards. So he can hurt you in a couple of ways. And they do lose their outstanding receiver in Treylon Burks. He was really, really good. 66 catches last year, 1,100 yards. So he'll have to be replaced if they're going to keep it going big on the offensive side of things. Interesting that Jefferson, of course, the leading passer, he was also the team's leading rusher, but 3 other good running backs do return. So I look for Arkansas to be a real factor. They have one of the best linebackers in the country and one of the best safeties in the country in Bumper Poole and Jalen Catalon. And certainly Bumper Poole has the best name in college football, I would say. Bumper Poole. That guy's a player now. Don't just take his name and forget about him. He is a player, and Catalon's a heck of a player as well. So I look for Arkansas to be very, very tough in the SEC West.
Were you surprised Jefferson did not make one of the first, second, or third team quarterbacks? I realize the SEC, and we don't talk much about the quarterbacks in that league, but there is a boatload of talented quarterbacks in the SEC. But I think Jefferson is certainly one of them, and I was surprised he didn't make any of the preseason all-team, first, second, or third teams.
Yeah. He was, I'm trying to think, let me pull up my ballot. I might have voted him. Yeah, he was my second quarterback. My quarterbacks were Bryce Young and KJ Jefferson. Could I have voted Spencer Rattler? I had a hard time voting for guys who haven't played in the league yet.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. And Hendon Hooker is really good at Tennessee, and Will Levis is outstanding at Kentucky. I mean, it'd be hard to take any of those guys off. I was, though, surprised that Jefferson was not on the list. I'm just not sure who he would replace.
And with Arkansas, guys, keeping a name to remember, Jadon Hazelwood, too, the transfer wide receiver from Oklahoma. He did not quite live up to the hype in his short time at Oklahoma. But he was, and I know you don't like the rankings, but he was viewed as the top wide receiver in the country out of high school. He has all the intangibles. Reading about him here, a lot of folks thought that he was quote unquote NFL ready out of high school. He has all the intangibles, so that'll be quite a weapon for them on the outside this year.
Hey, Pat, you don't have to qualify something when you're going to say it that, I don't like it. I'm not God. You like the rankings, you can refer to the rankings. Just because I don't do it doesn't mean you can't do it. Feel free to refer to the rankings, and you don't have to apologize. Go ahead, use the rankings. I'm not going to hit you with a bolt of lightning or anything like that for doing that. So,
well, there you go.
Right.
5-star wide receiver out of high school.
I mean, go ahead.
Phil, you are our recruiting god.
Yeah, right.
That's all that matters.
Warren Thompson, Jelon Hazelwood, and Katron Jackson will be the top 3 for them. Looks like Raheem Sanders will be the top running back.
Matt Landers, too. Don't forget that name, out of Toledo. He went to a smaller school first, but Matt Landers was also viewed as one of the top wide receiver transfers in the portal, who then ultimately ended up at Arkansas as well.
By the way, today on the preseason All-SEC team, we should mention this. The preseason All-SEC team came out along with the ranking, and from South Carolina, the Gamecocks had some representation on that team. Nobody on the first team. On the second team offense, the Gamecocks had Josh Vann and Jaheim Bell. And they make that third team offense, Josh Vann, Jaheim Bell. On the defense, second team, Zach Pickens and Cam Smith. So those are the 4 Gamecocks selected all SEC preseason. Now to the ACC, where I think it's on Monday, they'll be releasing their media poll. I think it comes out on Monday. Jeff Collins is the head coach at Georgia Tech, and he's trying to get something going there at Georgia Tech, and he's got a chance to make some noise right off the bat in a sold-out Mercedes-Benz Dome, Chris. Sold out. Sold
If
out.
you only sell 42,000 tickets, at least that's according to the AJC.
Yeah.
That was going to be my other bone to pick with you about neutral site games.
Right.
Bobby Dodd Stadium seats more than that, as tiny as it is at 55,000. And we know that Clemson's place seats 80 plus. So
yeah.
I just don't understand the need to go play inside the Mercedes-Benz Stadium when both the two schools have bigger stadiums on campus.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's why they have these kickoff classics, and they pay the teams $5 million to come and play.
To further Chris's point there, too, let's take – I'm a nerd for numbers. Bobby Dodd holds 55,000. If they're limiting the Falcon Stadium to 42.5, that is 21,250 seats each for Clemson and Georgia Tech. So now you factor that into Bobby Dodd, they are losing 33, or they would be able to sell 33,750 additional tickets if that was a home game. Say they charge $75 a ticket, that's $2.5 million right there. If they charge $100 a ticket, that's $3.4 million. So if we're understanding that they're splitting somewhere between $5.5 and $6 million, are they really making anything extra by playing in the Chick-fil-A? Like, there has to be something else that's incentivizing them, whether it's some kind of television money or some kind of outside financials, because otherwise it just seems like the math would actually make more sense to play the game at home.
Well, I mean, it's Labor Day night on national television, the only game being played. Ordinarily, Clemson, Georgia Tech would not attract that type of attention to open a season, considering how bad Georgia Tech is.
Sure.
And what should be a rout. So, I mean, this makes the game stand out like a sore thumb because it's the only game on Monday night, and it's going to get a lot of hoopla, a lot of attention from that standpoint. And the money, the money offsets, I guess, what they would have done had they played it in a home stadium. Anyway, let's get to Jeff Collins, coach at Georgia Tech, who's got a record of 9-25 at Georgia Tech. Not exactly lighting it up. Last year, 3-9. Actually played Clemson to a tight game in the Valley. Remember, 14-8. Mm-hmm. Clemson had to hold on, and then they went and beat North Carolina, and you thought, my goodness, Georgia Tech all of a sudden looks like they're a little bit for real. But then they finished the season with 6 straight losses and got bombed in their last 2 games. They got shut out by a combined score of 100-0 in their last 2 games, losses to Notre Dame and Georgia. Here is Jeff Collins as he took some questions from the media at ACC Media Days.
Coach, you're coming off of 3 consecutive 3-win seasons. You made a lot of off-season kind of changes. Can you kind of comment to kind of the media and kind of the fan base and kind of tell what should give them optimism about this coming season, and what makes you believe you're going to turn it around and get things going in the right direction?
Absolutely. Yeah, just excited about the guys that we've been able to add to the organization, whether that be coaches, whether that be players. Over the last couple of years, we've been able to develop a lot of depth within the roster and a lot of leadership, and the way the guys are working, the way they come into the building, the way they attack the workouts. Just excited to be back on the grass on August 5th. And the big focus since the end of last season is how can we play the best brand of Georgia Tech football on college football Saturdays. And, that's been the focus of everything that we've done, all the changes that we've made, all the deep introspection on how we do things and why we do things. And just excited to see us continue to build and work throughout the preseason. And obviously, we've got a high-profile matchup in Mercedes-Benz Stadium to start the season against a great Clemson team. So just excited to keep working and building until we get to that point, and then just continue to get better every single week.
Coach, keep your sight lines right there. It's the gentleman right next to him. Rod McKenzie with GoJackets.com. Jeff, talking about those new coaching hires, how have they been received by the players, and in the short time you've been around, and what is your evaluation of what you've seen from those coaches?
Yeah, and obviously you'll get a chance to talk to our guys here in just a minute. But they've come in with the proper attitude, mindset, poured into our guys. We started spring ball a lot earlier than we have in the past, so that we could get all the new schemes, all the new things that we're doing offensively and defensively into our guys, into the cut-up database, and give us time throughout the last 6 weeks of the spring semester and over the summer to rep those things, go through the cut-ups with the guys, and that's been very beneficial for us. And then the leadership that we have in our program has brought the new guys in.
I'm Attorney Jim Court.
But everything that we're doing and have done and will continue to do is to be able to put a product on the field that makes all the Georgia Tech alumni, Georgia Tech fans, former players very proud of the product that we put on the field when we play.
Coach, right in front of you to your left.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. How are you?
Doing great.
To look at positives going into year 4, obviously in the win-loss column, you don't see that. But
Sure.
Where are you seeing it heading into year 4 that's tangible for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big thing is just teaching the guys the process, how we do things, how we go about our preparation, how we go about our work. And one of the biggest things and the benefit to the leadership in the program is staying true to the process and improving the process, even though results aren't showing on the field. And the commitment from the leadership of our program and the coaches to continue to find ways to improve every single day has been the whole focus. And, obviously going to continue to do that this last 2 weeks of summer workouts. Got a really good preseason planned, and just continue to build and grow and, develop the relationships and be ready to play really good football when we get to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and then week in and week out throughout the season.
All right, there you go. Jeff Collins. Jeff Sims back at quarterback at Georgia Tech. He's a pretty good quarterback. 1,468 passing yards last season. Also a pretty good runner, 372 rushing yards. Has a new coordinator. I think they've gone through several coordinators during his time there, so that's not good. Chip Long, the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech going into this season. We'll hit the break, and Jeff Owens will join us as we go racing NASCAR up at Pocono. Coming back.
I'm Attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight and throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, 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 boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Come on, everybody. Come on, Matt. Let me hear you. Pocono. Racing boys. Up in the mountains with that very funny turn there, the tunnel turn. At Pocono, we welcome in Jeff Owens in the fast lane here on Sports Talk. Great to have you with us once again. And yeah, Pocono, it's for stock cars, it seems like it takes them a long time to come down that back stretch at Pocono every year.
Yeah, it's an odd track, Phil, no question about it. An odd track in sort of an odd area of the country. It's a triangle with 3 turns, which is, extremely unique in NASCAR. We're used to turn 4 and all that. We only got 3 at Pocono, and you got unusually long straightaways, and that makes for a difficult and challenging track. They generate, they get up to about 200 miles an hour or more going down those straightaways, and then they have to brake and really slow down to get through those tight turns. So it's a very challenging track for both the drivers and the crew chiefs as far as getting the car set up. They always say that, you can't set the car up to work really well in all 3 turns. So you really have to pick and choose where you want to be strong and hope it works out for you. But definitely a very unique racetrack.
Yeah, isn't this one of the tracks maybe more so than others where the gas mileage factor really comes into play in the latter stages?
It does. They've had a lot of fuel mileage races there over the years, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's just such a big track, and you're going to burn a lot more fuel, and but also, they get strung out there. There's not as many cautions. You have a lot of green flag pit stops. And the crew chiefs have got to sort of be on their game and calculate things down to the last drop of fuel. So that's happened a lot over the years at Pocono. They do get strung out a little bit there, and fuel mileage often is a factor. So we'll see what happens this week. We've had a lot of cautions this year, about 70% more than we had last year. So maybe that'll play out at Pocono, and it'll give us some exciting restarts.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, potential interesting news. Yesterday, evidently on CBS Mornings, Kurt Busch announced, or at least hinted towards, that next season might be his last. He actually made the comment, I'm having a chance to drive next year for the team, talking about 2311 Racing, and I might be done driving after that. How big a shakeup would that be in NASCAR if Kurt Busch does eventually, and all of them will, but if he does retire after next season and take maybe one of the veteran voices in that relatively new camp away from 2311?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not surprised by this, Chris. I think this, first of all, Kurt's getting on up there. He's about 44, 45 years old now, so it's getting pretty close. He came in just after Kevin Harvick, and Harvick, they're both similar age and getting toward the end of their career. But this is also tied directly to what we talked about last week with Tyler Reddick moving over to Stewart Haas Racing, or moving over to the Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin team in 2024. So right now they've got 2 cars for Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace. So Tyler Reddick will move over to that team in 2 years or after next season. So they got to have somewhere to put him. And I doubt seriously they're going to expand this quickly to 3 cars.
Yeah.
So, that's probably what's going to happen. Kurt Busch probably already knows that Tyler Reddick is going to slide into that car. And at that point, he's going to be out of a ride again. So the timing sort of lines up. It's probably the perfect time for him to go ahead and step away from it. The other factor is that after the 2023 season, there are a lot of rides open out there. And there's going to be a lot of shuffling around and people going for those rides, particularly some of the, younger drivers. So Kurt's going to sort of be at a disadvantage somewhat with his age and having been around. I mean, that may be good for some teams, but I don't see the top teams in the sport going after a guy his age. So I think it's just probably lines up to be a good time for him to step away.
Got about a minute left with Jeff Owens in the fast lane. So 7 races to go. 2 spots are left to be filled for the playoffs. They've got 14 winners so far. Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr., 15 and 16. They don't have wins. What's going to happen?
Well, I would put my money on those two guys right there to win a race, to win one of these next races. I'm shocked that neither one of those guys has not won. You could sort of throw Kevin Harvick in there, except, he struggled a good bit last year, and clearly that team is still struggling now. But Blaney is second in points and has run well all year long. Surprised he hasn't won one yet. Truex is in the same situation. He looked like he was going to run away with that race last week, and then it didn't work out for him. This is a good track for both these guys. The Gibbs cars are always really strong here. Blaney has got a win there before, so I look for those two guys to be strong this weekend and maybe back that win.
As always, my friend, great talking to you. Have a super weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff
Jeff.
Owens, in the Fast Lane here on Sports Talk. Birdies and Bogeys coming up next.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. The rain should clear out tonight. It'll stay muggy all weekend with a low tonight of 72 tomorrow. Mix of sunshine and clouds, and a hotter 93 is our high. Sunday is similar with more sun than clouds. Not much chance of rain and a hot 94 with a lot of humidity. Have a great weekend and stay safe. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hi, honey. Did you drop by True Pharmacy and grab the vitamins I asked you to get?
I sure did. Guess what? I even got a discount.
Of course, you used our loyalty points. They're always great.
Well, yes, but even better, did you know that on Fridays, True Pharmacy gives a 10% discount to all state employees on OTC purchases?
So you used our loyalty points and got 10% off?
That's right. I'm so glad we switched to True Pharmacy. Great service and great prices. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Russia and Ukraine signed separate agreements Friday with Turkey and the United Nations, clearing the way for the export of millions of tons of desperately needed Ukrainian grain, as well as some Russian grain and fertilizer across the Black Sea. The long-sought deal ends a wartime standoff that has threatened food security around the globe. COVID-19 symptoms left President Joe Biden with a raspy voice and cough as he met Friday via video conference with his top economic team. But the president tried to strike a reassuring tone, declaring, "I feel much better than I sound." Later Friday, White House officials told reporters that Mr. Biden was working more than 8 hours a day. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 137 points. The Nasdaq dropped 225. The S&P 500 declined 37. More on these stories at srnnews.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled Mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get Mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint help both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Hello, this is Stacy Huff, host of Huff Nation Sports Zone, each and every Saturday, 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 100.7 FM, The Point, and also 1470 a.m. It'll be a fun trip around the world of sports. Huff Nation Sports Zone, check it out.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
Everyone seems to be hiring these days, but are they good jobs where there's potential for growth? What about on-the-job training and competitive wages, including health insurance and a 401k plan? Professional Printers is looking for their next star. They're a local printer with 2 locations, 130 employees, and a national clientele. If you've got a good attitude, want to learn some great skills, and work in a positive environment, reach out on proprinters.com or apply in person at 301B Greystone Boulevard.
4. Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. That's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day.
Okay, time for some birdies and bogeys around the state of South Carolina and other parts of the country, as well as we welcome in once again George Bryan III to Sports Talk tonight. As we welcome George in, let me update what is happening at the PGA event. The PGA event this weekend, the 3M Open in Blaine, Minnesota. This is the next to last event before they get to the playoffs for the PGA Tour. And your leader after 2 rounds is Scott Piercy, 64 today. He's at 13 under. Emiliano Grillo is at 10 under after a 65. We've got Andrew Novak at 4 under. Right now, I think, he's still on the course if play is continuing. I'm not sure about the weather up there, but he's on the course at 4 under, but looking pretty good for the cut. Stuart Sink at 2 under. Matthew Neesmith is at 1 under after his round today. Scott Brown +1 after a 74. Jonathan Bird +1 after a 71. Bill Haas +3. Tommy Gainey a 71 today, but leaves him at +5. Lucas Glover 5 over after a 72. DJ Trahan +6. Ben Martin +6 after a 74. Doc Redman on the course at +6. And George, I feel Wesley's pain. 17 over, an 81 and a 78, including a 10 today that had on a par 4 that had 3 penalty strokes in there. I feel his pain, my friend. I feel his pain.
Well, what a segue into our segment now is sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports. And so, the cool thing about the Tsunami Bar is there is a technology now where you can exercise and experience gain with no pain. But today's round, Wesley did that 10. Those always hurt. When you get in the double digits with a golf score, that is painful. And when I spoke with him just a bit ago, guess what we did not discuss?
That 10.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Well, he would not call it a perfect 10, I'm sure. And we're not going to dwell on it either because it's the nature of golf. Some days you got it, and some days it's got you. So he will bounce back from that, I am certain. And I tell you what, George, a lot of rain around the state. On the one hand, that's great for the golf courses. It grows the grass and saves a lot of money for the courses, and they can cut that grass, and those fairways look plush, and the greens look smooth and everything. But then again, it does cut into the playing time, and also it also leads to the worst words in golf. Well, next to the worst words in golf are probably "it's still you," but the other worst words in golf would be "cart path only." So probably have a lot of cart path only going on this week.
Yeah, but that adds to the steps. And the other side of that is you get the experience more of the beautiful golf course, the outdoors. And the real truth of it is the carts don't decrease the amount of time taken but in most golf courses. But I do think that cart path only, if it's cart path only, I think just go ahead and walk. That's a lot easier in my mind. Now, some of us can't, and if you can't, well, you can't.
Yeah.
But if you walk on cart path days, you cut into that time, and the faster you play, the better you play, the more fun you'll have.
You know, when I played True Blue a couple of weeks ago, this is the first place I've seen these. I'm sure there are other places. You may have seen them. Besides having golf carts, they had, for lack of a better term, they had golf scooters. Have you seen those?
I have. And
like little mopeds, and each individual player has his own little like moped, and he puts the bag sits on the front, and you go directly to your ball. You don't have to have a guy, drop you off and go to his ball. Everybody goes directly to their ball. What do you think about that?
I think it adds a little spice. Is there a certification required to learn how to drive the scooter?
I don't know. I was in a cart, so I just saw the group behind me had it, and it looked like they were having a lot of fun. Like
I saw a tumble in a scooter on one occasion. It happened to be, there were young folks out there playing around, and don't know much about. Hadn't been to many facilities where I watched a lot of scooters on the course. I've seen a few, and they look pretty cool to me. Looks like it could add a little more fun to the game.
I would say so, and pick up that pace as well. All right, I'm going to let you play through. You have another special guest tonight, so you tee it up and play on through.
I'm going to welcome Rob Thames to the tee, and Rob is the director of technology at Tsunami Bar Sports. Welcome to the tee box. Let's tee it up, Rob.
George, it's good to be with you. Phil, it's good to be with you, and it's another great week of golf. We got, I guess the city was just last week, and now we still got the PGA Tour still going. They got about 3 weeks to go, and they're going to be hitting their playoffs, and so there's still some excitement, and I'm looking forward to all of it. So good to be with you guys.
Hey, I'd like to say this I'll say as we putt out, there was an announcement by the British Open champion that I think the three of us need to tee back up. And Rob, thank you for queuing me up. We do have a local spotlight, and this is technically the second drop, and we're getting fancy. So there is technology now where high levels of discomfort and pain is not a prerequisite for gain. And this is your segue into, I'm going to talk about that city tournament, Rob. Respond just a bit to that before I get into the city tournament results.
Well, exercise has, especially when it comes to weightlifting, but it can really encompass just about all exercise. It's always been associated with soreness or discomfort or, a lack of enjoyment for better terms, unless you're some of those sick people like I am where, I beat myself up and love it for a few days while I couldn't move. But it's not like that for everybody, and it really shouldn't be. And so we got technology now that you're really looking at it from a different perspective instead of escalating weight and you trying to master that weight all the way to failure, where you're getting a lot of skeletal and muscular abrasion, the soreness that's involved, the stiffness where you can't move, you're on ibuprofen for several days after that. Now we're looking at bar velocity, the speed of the move. So it's not so much how much can you lift or move, but how much can you move quickly. So that's going to reduce some of the weight. And with the Tsunami Bar, being that it's an active bar, it loads and unloads. You can take a light, a fairly light setup, like a 62-pound setup, and move it at about 3 feet per second and get a 400-pound result out of it as far as what your central nervous system is going to respond to. So, and then you don't get the resulting soreness and musculoskeletal abrasion that's associated with the free weight. So, no pain versus pain. I'll take the no pain route these days.
I don't blame you.
As I was heading out for my few shots today, I hit a few shots. Try to every day. Witnessed a 93-year-old grab the brand new Total Flex and use it like he was born with it in his hand. Now, there's going to be more. We'll talk more about that later. It was pretty cool to see a 93-year-old. 2 months ago, he was one who walked daily, but he has now been restricted and cannot walk. So I put that bar was sitting there. He picked it up and started using it. So I call it arm sprint, and it was fun to watch him. And also, let me tell you somebody who had some fun. Patrick Stevenson at the Spur at Northwood, final round 67, wins the event by several shots over Bronson Myers. Chase Sturkey finished third at 213, 6 shots back. Matthew Hutto at 217, and that is our local spotlight in golf. And hey, we had going to transition into the, I call it national. Hey Phil, it's been a lot of fun over the years. We started talking. I'm talking in the early '90s of making predictions. Some of these kids, I just knew what I was looking at. Pretty special, and it started with Charles Warren. I remember distinctly watching him at Indian River, and from there he started just about a freight train of players that went to Clemson. But these young players made national impressions. Started with either national junior or U.S. amateur qualifier. Well, congratulations to Nick Lyerly. He is the only guy from North Carolina that got by the South Carolina qualifiers that used to hack me off to watch all these out of towners, out of staters come to South Carolina, thinking initially when I saw the board, very few, all the out of towners, I was thinking, what are they doing? And why does everybody come to South Carolina for a qualifier? Almost the first time I saw it, nobody got a spot. The South Carolinians dominated. They stay away from here now. But Nick did slip down from North Carolina and got him a spot. He was a medalist at Camden.
Yeah. By the way, George, you just can't mention that and not mention. Did you see his first round score?
I did. It's 61. That's pretty good there at Camden Country Club.
61. Yeah, 61. How do you do that at Camden?
Well, you birdie, maybe throw an eagle. Hey,
okay.
Camden is just a Donald Ross gym. Matt McCarley, the head golf pro there, does a great job in the green staff. It's one of my top 3 courses in the whole world. So, but he's the only North Carolinian. He's the only guy from out of town that got him a spot. Because you might have to help. What was wrong about that? A Californian corner.
You're getting choppy. You're getting choppy on us, George.
Jackson Coyven.
There you go.
Sorry about that. He got him a spot, but upcoming freshman at University of South Carolina, Zach Adams, got a spot. Nathan Frank earned a spot. William Jennings from Greenville got a spot in the U.S. Amateur. Congratulations to these. Andrew Swanson from Bluffton got an alternate spot. Not sure he'll get in, but congratulations to those players. And that, again, is that spotlight brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sport.
Hey, back in your day, which really wasn't all that long ago, because, you're still relatively young. Did you ever qualify for the amateur, the U.S. amateur?
The one thing I can say, it's going to sound boastful, but it is, I tried for 2 and I got in both of them.
Nice.
One was at Camden and one was at Spring Valley. And I was very fortunate to play in 2. One was at Brookline Country Club and the other at North Shore in Chicago.
Ooh,
so,
how'd you do?
Unbelievable. About like Wesley missed the cut. Didn't do so well, but at least I got there.
That's right.
And that was very special to get in one of the USGA majors. And hey, we've got, in my opinion, one of the top states in the whole country for producing amateur golf. Now, men, there was a story. We had, I think, one of the most exciting players. I'm going to shift gears now, going on to the national level. We had Cam Smith just win one of the, I'll say it's one of the top 5 British Opens that I've watched. Definitely in the top 5. Probably my favorite was watching Tom Watson to date come down the stretch. He was edged by Stuart Sink.
Did we lose George? Pat, is George gone?
George, can you still hear us? I'm seeing him connected. Give me 1 second.
Okay. He was going to talk about, Chris, he was going to talk about Cam Smith making the move to the Live Tour and making a bunch of money over there after winning the British. And there's a bunch of that stuff still going on. I'm afraid we're going to see more and more big names move over there. And that's just the way it's going to be. The guy's going to go for for the money and for the lighter load, I guess.
Well, if there was a knock on the early results of the Live Tour, Phil, it was the fact they weren't attracting some of the top flight golfers. When you get the Open champion as part of your field, they're starting to tap into some of those golfers with Cam Smith. And then, of course, we talked about the other day, David Faraday making the move from NBC over to whatever TV coverage they have. And now there are rumors Charles Barkley may actually come over and talk some golf on the Live Tour. So they are slowly becoming a much bigger thorn in the PGA Tour side than I think the PGA would like.
Absolutely. And Henrik Stenson, who was going to be the captain of the European Ryder Cup team, he's going over there and he loses his captaincy. So a lot of stuff happening from that standpoint. And, you know, that tour, you know what they can do because they've got so much money. You know what they've got on their side, Chris, more than anything else? Well, besides money, they got time.
Yeah, they've got a lot of that.
They got money, but they got time. They can sit back. They don't have a TV contract to worry about. Right now, everything's on YouTube. That'll come in time. But they can just sit back and, you know, and keep paying these big dollars. And they know human nature. And human nature will be for these guys on the other tour. Human nature will drive them over there to go after the big bucks. As we've got George back with us. I think we had a phone system crash, but we got George and Rob back with us. So go ahead, George. I'm going to let you. I've putted out, so you tee it up and continue.
Well, I did not. I did pick up where you said Stenson is now been ousted. He's not going to be the Ryder Cup captain. Is that what I heard? And I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Yeah. They're stripping him of his Ryder Cup captain's role because he's going over to the Live Tour.
Well, and you know, it's this seems to be distributing a lot of pain right now, and I think it's a shame because the verdict's still out. There's a lot yet unknown, and I think I'm speaking from somebody who has been around golf. I'm 60 years old, been there a long time, and it's kind of sad to watch the overreaction. I hear people speak as if they know all the facts. Well, I'm not sure they do. I was out at the John Deere just a couple of weeks ago, and there's a lot of stuff floating around that is not factual. So I think, it'll be interesting to see how this is resolved to me, and then what the fallout looks out then. I know the lawyers in our legal system, international legal system, is going to be tested, and it's one of those things. That's my opinion. There's a lot of stuff going on that is unfortunate. People overreact in this day and age. It's just another tour out there. I look at it like this is an exaggeration, but there is real wrestling. There's real wrestling out there. It's Roman Greco and there's Olympic wrestling, and then there's what we watch on TV. And it looks like the Live Tour is a little bit like the circus show, or what we might watch on TV. Is it real? Is it Memorex? Hey, this is just a game. But I think there's a lot of hurt going on being distributed, and at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a lot of regret, a lot of apologies.
Let me give you an analogy here to some degree, and I mean, maybe the PGA Tour and the Live Tour, as these golfers leave the PGA and go to the Live, and they reduce the quality of the fields for the rank and file PGA events. Maybe it waters those down, and then you see these guys only, prepare for and talk about the majors, and like all they care about is playing in the majors. And like with Tiger, you don't see him hardly anywhere now except the majors. And it's sort of like college basketball, where we all know that games in November, December, they don't really amount to a whole lot. everything's about the conference tournament in January, February, and March, getting ready for the NCAA tournament if you're one of those elite programs. So what I'm trying to say here is, are you concerned that golf is only going to be focused on the majors, or has that always just really kind of been the case that the majors are everything when it comes to whichever golf tour you're talking about?
Hey, there's a conversation now, and I love the fact that there is conversation, and maybe the Live Tour brings golf more into the focus. All these other leagues, all these other pro sports have experienced expansion, and I'm just narrowly or broadly looking at that Live Tour as just that. The players still, and I like what Rob, I don't know if Rob got back on after we snap hooked it into the bushes or not. Is Rob on the line?
I think he is. He's
I'm
with us.
I'm here. I'm with you, George. Well, Rob had
Snap hook.
Hey, but Rob had a great piece, had a great one-liner a couple of weeks ago. He goes, "Hey, the people will decide." Rob, you weigh in on this.
Wow, it's such a heavy and broad topic, and talking about Henrik being stripped of his captaincy. I listened to Paul McGinley today, who's on the committee that put him in position of captaincy, and he said that that they discussed the possibility of Henrik being offered money to go to Live way back then, before he was ever put in position, and he said, "No, I'm here for the long term." And they left it at that, and they went ahead, and he got the position, and now he's decided to vacate that. So there's a lot of things going on both sides. I had not heard about Cam Smith. That was news to me, even though I really felt like it was coming. I just hadn't heard about it. But it's another professional organization. They're right now, they have no developmental foundation to pull from. The only thing they can do is offer people money to come play for them, and they're trying to be exclusionary in that respect, because you can't go Monday qualify or get in on any of their stuff, but they want their players to be able to go play everywhere else. So there's a little bit of give and take that's going to have to happen somewhere along the line for everybody to be happy and be able to progress this game, and it'll work out. It's just right now we're in those rough, choppy waters. There's going to be some battles to go on, and it'll shake out in the long run. We just have to be patient and see what happens.
I agree, and just got we're going to go ahead and put out. And the final thing I'll say on the topic there with the Live is, hey, these players, the people and the players will decide. The players usually are playing to achieve, to be part of walking the dream that they created as children. And like John Rahm said, hey, I like to play against tradition and history. There's none of that on the Live. So, hey, there could be room out there for a Live Tour that's more like a circus or a Raw. WW is not the real thing, but it's something that maybe the fans, the players can enjoy, and then make some money like the rest of the athletes in the professional world. Hey, golf is underpaid compared to the baseball, football, basketball, and I'm all for the sport. I don't know how it's going to grow. I'm not sure it will, but hey, that'll do it for G3's opinion, and I look forward to more conversation. Thank you for Tsunami Bar Sports support, and for Rob, G3 here. Y'all tee 'em high, but shoot 'em low.
All right, guys, as always, great stuff. Thank you very much, Rob Thames and George Bryan III here on Sports Talk. We appreciate that very much. Birdies and bogeys around South Carolina and around the world here on Sports Talk every Friday night at 7:30. Some quick notes to leave you with. USC football analyst Ahmad Smith going to work with the Vikings the next few weeks as part of the Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship. USC released that today. Coastal Carolina's outstanding infielder Eric Brown has signed with the Brewers, $2.15 million, a little bit below slot value, which was $2.7. Shortstop, first rounder in Coastal history. He's cashing in. Yeah.
That's really hard to believe, as good as that program has been over the years.
Yeah. Clemson's Will Putnam and Coastal's Willie Lampkin. They're on the Remington Award watch list for centers. And USC's Austin Stogner and Jaheim Bell and Davis Allen of Clemson, they're on the John Mackey Award watch list for tight ends. The wife of Phil Petty, Morgan Petty, and her family They've established the Phil Petty Football Scholarship to benefit a future USC football player in the wake of Phil Petty's untimely death yesterday at the age of 43. Dwight Smith, the one-time Atlanta Brave, the 1989 National League Rookie of the Year runner-up, has passed away. This is a bit of a surprise. He would have been, he was born in 1963, so he was about 58 or so, 59. So surprised to hear that. And you had some news on former Clemson receiver Justin Ross has got a problem.
Yes. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid today during an interview said that Justin Ross will be starting the camp and then potentially into the season on the physically unable to perform list. He had to have surgery again on that same foot that he had off-season surgery, which was one of the reasons why he went undrafted. They have no timetable yet for his return, but they said that it's just to kind of clean up from the previous surgery.
All right, guys. Hey, it's been a great week. Really have enjoyed it. SEC Media Days, ACC Media Days, and everything else in between. And a big week coming up next week. Make sure you're with us. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everybody. Have a super weekend. We'll see you Monday here on Sports Talk.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplace.